I just got off the phone with a White House official, and they need to clarify that the new effective tariff rate against China, effective today, is actually 145%, not 125% as they told us yesterday. This is not a new shift. This is based, I want to make clear, on a close reading of the executive order. I have it here. When they amended their executive order yesterday, they changed the rate, the reciprocal rate, so-called, from 84% to 125%. But that comes on top of the fentanyl rate that was already in place this term of 20% against China. So a White House official confirmed to me it is correct to add those numbers together, making the new rate that President Trump has added in tariffs against China so far this term to 145%. A big jump there from where we thought we were even yesterday and the start of the week as well. These numbers just keep increasing. And as you guys know, you do have to add that 145% to any tariffs that were already in place before President Trump took office this term. That's the Section 301 tariffs from his first term, as well as anything else that was already in place at baseline. But now the new rate, when you add all these figures together, for this term that they've added against China is 145% on Chinese imports.
中方的立场是明确一贯的，谈大门敞开，但对话必须在相互尊重的基础上，以平等方式进行。打中方也将奉陪到底。施压、威胁和讹诈不是同中方打交道的正确方式。希望美方与中方相向而行，本着相互尊重、和平共处、合作共赢的原则，通过对话、协商妥善解决分歧。
The United States is still imposing tariffs on China, and China is firmly opposed to such bullying. China will absolutely not accept pressure, threats, and blackmail. That is not the right way to deal with China. If the US side really wants to talk, it should show an attitude of equality, respect, and reciprocity. If the United States ignores the interests of the two countries and the international community and insists on fighting a tariff war and a trade war, China will certainly accompany it to the end.
It's official. China just declared a trade war against the United States. And starting tomorrow, everything changes. Xi Jinping just announced tariffs of up to 180% on American products. That's right. Everything coming from the US is about to become nearly twice as expensive in China. And the reason? Direct retaliation against the Biden administration's new tech sanctions on Chinese companies. This could hit companies like Tesla, Apple, even American farmers, with devastating financial consequences. Analysts are already calling this the beginning of a new economic Cold War. And some say this is just the beginning. Are we witnessing a global boycott between the world's two biggest powers? What do you think? Will the U.S. strike back? Or did China just go too far?
Should China worry about U.S. tariffs?
We never worry about it.
Why not?
Yeah. We only focus on ourselves, how we can do much better. We don't worry about others.
So you don't worry about President Trump's next moves?
Of course. Nobody worry about it.
Thanks, Andrew. So these new tariffs are going to go into effect in 6 hours' time. And as you were suggesting, the language around this decision is really interesting. The Chinese Commerce Ministry had called these tariffs abnormally high. They said that they were a joke. And the argument is that at these levels, Chinese people wouldn't even be able to buy some of these American goods or wouldn't want to buy American products. So the ministry went on to say that if the United States continues to play the numbers game of tariffs, then China will ignore it. So instead, the focus has been on how to support Chinese exporters from President Trump's 145% tariffs. And it looks as though the government is also marshaling some support from the private sector. Today, JD said that it's going to buy $27.3 billion worth of Chinese exports this year to sell into the Chinese market. Alibaba, its grocery chain, Hema, is going to be fast-tracking exporters to sell into the China market. And then we also saw some support for Chinese companies that want to use American tech, because the Semiconductor Industry Association defined what it means by a U.S. chip. So a U.S. chip, if it's designed in the U.S., but then it's taped out or basically turned into a chip elsewhere, then those ones would not be subject to a tariff by the Chinese.
What's up, fam? It's your girl CB back again. And wow, we've got a serious situation unfolding right now. President Trump, yes, is back in White House, has just slapped a massive 145 tariff on Chinese imports. It's the biggest tariff hike we've seen in modern US history. And guess what? China is already clapping back. This isn't just about it. It's a full-on economic war. So let's talk about what is happening, how it's affecting everyday Americans, what China is doing in response, and what this all means for MAGA movement that brought Trump back to power. No more campaign promises. It's real now. President Trump has officially imposed a 145 tariff on a wide range of Chinese goods. We are talking electronics, solar panel, electric vehicles, steel, machinery, and even consumer goods. This is not a proposal. It's already live. The White House is calling it a necessary move to end economic dependence on China and bring back American manufacturing for goods. These tariffs took effect earlier this month, and now the price of everyday goods, phones, TVs, even tools and furniture are spiking across the world. And all this isn't just symbolic. This is one of the most aggressive trade measures in modern history. So how did China respond? They didn't waste a minute. Beijing slapped retaliatory tariffs on over 100 billion worth of US goods. That include American soybeans, meat, grains, semiconductors, and even aviation parts. And they're not stopping there. China has started restricting rare earth exports. Those critical minerals we use in everything from electric cars to missiles. This is a shot across the board. China is saying, you want a trade war? Fine, but we are bringing a bazooka. They also cancelled multiple orders for US agriculture goods and began fast-tracking trade deals with Russia, Brazil, and Africa to make up the difference. Let's talk about what this means to the rest of us. We've already seen price spikes at retailers Walmart, Amazon, Home Depot. They're all passing across down to the consumer. TVs, electronics, batteries, even power tools. Some prices have jumped 20 to 40% in just weeks. And small businesses, they are panicking, especially those who rely on Chinese imports for inventory and raw material. We just started recovering from 2022-2023 inflation wave. And now many experts are warning this could trigger a new inflation cycle. The Federal Reserve has hinted it might raise interest rates again, its prices keep climbing. So yeah, families are feeling it. Businesses are feeling it. Everyone asking, is this really worth it? Now, here is the other side of the coin. The MAGA movement is fired up. For Trump supporters, this is exactly what they voted for. Economic nationalism, toughness on China, and bringing manufacturing jobs back home. In fact, pro-Trump groups are calling this the Great Economic Correction. They say we've been relying on cheap Chinese labor for too long, and it's time we paid the little price to make America self-sufficient again. They see these tariffs not a burden, but an investment in America's future. One pro-Trump economist even called it economic detox. And in Rust Belt states like Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, a lot of voters are saying we will pay more if it means real jobs come back. Now, here is where it gets tricky. Is it actually working? Early signs show some US companies are exploring manufacturing options in Mexico, India, or even bringing plants back to America. But relocating supply chains takes years, not months. In the meantime, production delays, price hikes, and uncertainty. Some of US manufacturers are saying it's cheaper to shut down temporarily than try to restock under these tariffs. That means lay off in some sectors, not growth. So, yes, the long-term goal is rebuilding American industry, but short term, there is pain and it's hitting hard. So politically, what's the play here? For Trump, this is the signature move. He promised this during 2024 campaign. He framed Biden as weak on China and he vowed to protect American workers. Now he's delivering. His base loves it. MAGA rallies are louder than ever. There is even talk of a second American manufacturing revolution, but moderators are independent. They are nervous. Inflation is back in the headlines. Small businesses are complaining. Some Republicans, donors are even pushing back, saying this could crash the economy before it recovers. So, the real question, will Trump gamble pay off? Or will this backfire politically, especially in 2026 midterms? Let's zoom out for a second. This isn't just about the US and China anymore. Global markets are reacting. The stock market dropped sharply after the tariffs took effect. Countries in Europe and Asia are scampering to adjust trade routes. There is also a ripple effect on energy prices, tech development, and even global goods supply chains. And now, with China aligning more with Russia economically, we are seeing a deeper global divide, East versus West, forming light in front of our eyes. So yeah, these tariffs, they are not just taxes, they are geopolitical grenades. Alright fam, now I want to hear from you. Do you support Trump's new 145 tariffs? Are they a bold move towards American independence or a risky economic gamble that could backfire? And what do you think about China's response? Should we double down or find a way to cool things off? Drop your comment below. In the chat reading every word. I'm in the chat reading every word. Let's keep this conversation going. Here is my take. This is a historic comment. Whether you love Trump or can't stand him, what's happening now will shape our economy for years to come. This is just a policy debate. It's about identity, sovereignty, and what kind of country we want to be in the 21st century. So stay alert, stay informed, and most importantly, stay vocal. If you found this video helpful, hit that like, subscribe, and bell so you don't miss the next drop. We're diving into all top issues, raw, unfiltered, and from the people's perspective. Until next time, stay bold, stay real.